We will now go over lesson 42 in Ross. And this is going to emphasize the accents. In addition to marking stressed syllables of a word, accents may separate or join words within a sentence. And so far, there have been 5 major accents introduced in the Ross grammar. There is the saluk, which marks the major break at the end of a line, at the end of verse. You always have saluk followed by sof pasuk, that's the 2 little dots at the end. The athna marks the major division within the line. The Masoretes tried to divide up every verse into 2 halves, and the athna would be in the middle. And the athna looks like a little carrot thing. And then you have the zakef katon, which is the 2 little dots above the bet here in the example on the screen. And that would be marking a weaker division. And then there's a rabia, which marks a weaker accent division. Again, it's a little diamond-shaped dot above the bet there. And then finally, the munah is a conjunctive accent, which is a little bracket thing that you see there. Now, the disjunctive accents are the most important ones for punctuation purposes, because the disjunctive accents will tell you where you need to put a period or put a comma or put a semicolon or a colon, because there will be some sort of pause at the major disjunctive accents. Several other accents aid in understanding the Masoretic text, and for a full listing of accents used in Biblia Hebraica, see the section on accents in the back of the book. But here's at least 4 more. You have the segolta, which is kind of a triangular 3 dots, kind of like an upside down segol. Then there's the tifcha, marking a disjunction in the line. It's a small line slanting to the left. You can see it here. Again, that's a disjunctive accent. And then you have the mehufak, a mehufak, not a chet, but a hey. A conjunctive accent joins a word strongly to the following word, and it looks like a less than sign, but it's kind of pointing ahead. Notice this one is pointing away, which means kind of like a comma, go back. This one's pointing ahead, keep going. And then there's the maraka, a conjunctive accent, single line slanting to the right or the left is the opposite of the tifcha. So slanting right to left, and again it's kind of pointing forward to say keep reading. And again, the most important things about the accents is, one, it tells you where to accent the word, but more importantly it tells you how to punctuate your sentences. So particularly the disjunctives are important for that. If you know most of the disjunctives, well, then the other ones are not that important to us for exegesis purposes. Well, let's move on to 42.2, Adverbial Accusatives. A common way to express an adverbial idea is with a noun in the accusative case. When the accusative serves as a direct object, it can be with or without the et, and it's fairly easy to recognize. When the accusative is not the direct object, it may modify the verb in some adverbial sense. So here you have the example, Vaituka ha'isha bet paro. Subject is Haisha, the woman was taken. And then bet paro is an adverbial accusative, and it means into the house of Pharaoh. It's almost as if you had preposition ba attached to it, particularly with the word house. It's almost as if they got lazy, and instead of saying babet, you just let the bet do double duty, or buy it do double duty. So the woman was taken into the house of Pharaoh, but this would be a case of a adverbial accusative. It's almost as if it had a directive hey attached to the bet. Or another example from Genesis 14:15. Vaye chalek alehem laila. Nifal verb here. He divided for himself. Alehem, against them. And then Lila would be by night. He divided, meaning divided the troops against them by night or during the night. And so the accusative Lila limits the time of the action. A Hebrew sentence can have two accusatives, one serving as an object and the other modifying it in some way. So in the creation account in Genesis 2:7, Vayitzar Adonai Elohim et ha'adam afar. Yahweh God formed the man, object marker et, but then afar means out of dust, using dust. Again, it's an adverbial accusative with dust. Or another example, Hu ye shufka rosh. Who is he? Will bruise you, but then rosh is with regard to the head. He will bruise you with regard to the head. And Ross suggests translating it, he will bruise you in the head. But rosh here is a adverbial accusative. A special use of the accusative is the cognate accusative. By cognate, we mean that the verb and the noun are from the same root. So the example is from Genesis 12:17. Vai naga Adonai et Pharaoh nagaim gadolim. Yahweh plagued Pharaoh. And then the word plague is from the root naga, but then the word plague as a noun is nega, and you have the plural form of it here, negaim, and then an adjective modifying it, gadolim. Literally, Yahweh plagued Pharaoh with great plagues. But you could smooth that out with Yahweh plagued Pharaoh greatly, or Yahweh severely plagued Pharaoh. You get a lot of this in the Joseph story, and Joseph dreamed a dream. Well, you know, expression like that, dreamed a dream, you could just say that Joseph dreamt. But Hebrew likes this cognate accusative thing. It uses it quite a bit. I move on to section 42.3, clauses beginning with key. Clauses that begin with key are common, but there are many different nuances of key depending on exactly what the context is. So you have causal clauses where key introduces a cause or a reason. And so you'll have, Abraham went down, ki kaved ha'ra'av ba'aretz, because the famine was heavy, was severe in the land. And so there, ki is giving the reason for an action. But then sometimes ki introduces temporal clauses that can then be translated when. So in Genesis 12:12, Vayahi ki yeru otach ha-mitzrim, and it will come to pass, Vayhaya. When is contextually the best meaning here for ki. When, subject is Mitzrim, the Egyptians will see otach, you, referring to Sarai. When the Egyptians will see you, and then it will go on to have a further sentence. But in this case, ki is translated when. A third usage of ki is when ki introduces a clause that functions in place of a noun. Especially after verbs of seeing, knowing, and thinking, a ki states what was seen or known or thought. And this use of ki may be described as introducing indirect discourse. So you have an example in Genesis 12 and verse 11. Yadati ki isha yafat mar'e at. Yadati, I know. Ki is going to be that. I know that a woman beautiful of appearance are you. I know that you are a woman beautiful of appearance. But here the ki is to be translated that. And then adverbial clauses, ki can introduce a contrast and be translated but. So Genesis 17:15, Lo tikra et shemah Sarai, ki Sarah shemah. You will not call her name Sarai. Ki is translated here, but Sarah is her name. Now, of course, this raises the question, when you have a word like ki, one of those very versatile particles, how does one figure out which meaning is best, and indeed which meanings are there? And I want to mention a useful tool, Williams's Hebrew syntax, which would be worth actually owning. Now, I don't happen to have a good scan of it, but I can at least describe it to you. You can go to the index, and you can find where it treats the particle ki. And so you would go to number 444 on page 156, and then it'll start giving you usages of it. Causal usage of ki, because, and then it'll give you an example from the Hebrew text. And then temporal usage, when, and then a usage that your textbook didn't give you, conditional, if, and then adversative usage, but, or rather, or but instead, and so on and so forth. It goes through all the various usages, and it'll do that for all the major particles. And so for exegetical purposes, Williams is a very concise tool that will allow you to see what possible meanings a particle might have, and then you can plug them in one by one and see if one or another fits best, or if maybe more than one is defendable. So anyway, this is Williams syntax. There is a Kindle edition, and not very well reviewed because it's small print, but anyway, it's there, and We'll see you later. Wrote.